Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're gonna go over H.P Lovecraft's The Dunwich Horror from IDW. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access. It's a full-size, full-color comic book that I create every month for my patrons. It goes for $3 a month, and like I said, you get it's 12 pages in full size, full color, and backup stories by usually Paul Courtjohn and Chris Knox. But I'm actually starting maybe next month or the month after, I'm going to introduce Random Access as a full-on anthology. And so there'll be 3 or 4 or 5 different artists going at the same time in Random Access. So if you're an artist and you would like to be in Random Access, just shoot me a DM in Instagram or email or whatever, and we can talk about it. You can get these, like I said, at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, or you can hit me up at alexturbin0441 at Instagram, or alexturbin0441 at Yahoo, which is my email. So I truly appreciate the support, and thank you very much. So we're going to be going over, as I said, The Dunwich Horror. And H.P. Lovecraft is one of my favorite creators of all time, even though love the creation and not the creator is kind of the credos, I guess, that goes along with H.P. Lovecraft, because he has a lot of baggage that comes along with him. It's really what inspired me to do this storyline, which is the first part in this Random Access number 28 here, where H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard are actually the main characters, and they kind of they kind of stumble through a storyline which has different characters from their stories and stuff like that. And H.P. definitely inspired me to do that. I didn't really know who H.P. Lovecraft was until I started playing Mythos, the card game. And anybody that's played this it's a fantastic game. And if you haven't played it, it's a pretty old game, and there really aren't a lot of them out there. But you can get them pretty cheaply on eBay, I think. So I think I might go get a whole set at some point and try to play. Find somebody to play with me, I guess. It's really cool, and of course, since this was my favorite deck that I made, you could make all these different decks, and it was around these different adventures, and they had different points correlating on to how easy or how hard it was to finish the adventure. And really, by doing the adventures where you would play a card and that would go into your story deck, and like this is a Memorial Hall from Miskatonic University. So if one of your adventures said travel to a Miskatonic University location, you could play this. Or spells, there's different spells, there's tomes, there's obviously there's old ones and young ones and stuff, but this has Old Man Whately and Wilbur Whately and Lavinia Whately. And so, like I said, this was my favorite deck, and that's what leads into the Dunwich Horror, because this deck is the Dunwich Horror story, which H.P. Lovecraft wrote, and this is somewhat of a retelling of that story. There's also a movie adaptation, but I don't think that's very good. I really wish there really has not been a fantastic H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, and I just really don't understand why, because he gives you all of the stuff to put into it, and it could be easily done. Yes, Lovecraft Country was a really cool mini series or series, whatever. It had great characters, great Lovecraftian aspects and stuff, but it really didn't hit me with a real Dunwich Horror or Miskatonic University or any of the storylines from H.P. Lovecraft. It didn't really hit. Like all of these adaptations, a lot of these adaptations, they're done either in a modern timeline, or they're done with a different universe, or they don't just stick to the core material, which they really should, because it's all there. Yes, it's a little bit of a blur because of H.P. Lovecraft's writing is very kind of blurry as far as not telling you specific things, and in like having a lot of detail. He didn't have any doesn't have any dialogue in his stories, but it's still there. All of the core stuff is still there. So it's a wonder that a real good H.P. Lovecraft movie hasn't been around yet. There's been things that I've enjoyed. Dagon, I think is the something of Dagon. That is kind of an okay one. And there's some okay ones, but there's nothing really that's good enough, I guess, to say. So I'm going into this not really expecting very much. I do have a graphic novel of short anthology stuff of H.P. Lovecraft stuff, and I didn't really love that either, because really, in order to hit Lovecraftian stuff, you can't give it to an artist who's a little too cartoony. If you give it to an artist who's cartoony, then it doesn't fit the whole story. It's kind of like casting an actor poorly in a movie or a TV show. Yeah, he could be a fantastic writer, a fantastic actor, but if he doesn't fit in that role, then it's just not gonna work. So let's delve into the Dunwich Horror. It's been 6 minutes, and I've been given some grief that I haven't actually opened the books that I'm looking at until a little while. This is actually number 2, and I think there's and it says this is the Dunwich Horror and the Hound. I'm not sure the Hound is. I'm not sure what this is. The Hound. That it's a backup story, but I'm not sure how it fits into here. So they don't tell you anything about what happened previously. Of course not. Why would they do that? That would be too easy. They have to have this whole little Lovecraft Dunwich Horror, because you don't know what you got at the comic book store, so they have to retell you here. This whole piece could have been what happened before. They don't have any what happened before, and that pisses me off. But really, what happens, since we know the Dunwich story, is there's something that happens at the farmhouse, and there's some professors that catch wind of it, and they end up going to, there's like 3 or 4 or whatever, they end up going to the farmhouse. Or actually, I think it starts with the Necronomicon, or you know what, I'm going to have to go back and reread the Dunwich Horror, because I don't know exactly how it starts. But I do know there's the thing is, I don't know if there's really the Necronomicon is in the Dunwich Horror, or whether it's some other book that Wilbur Whateley was trying to get a hold of to summon the Yog-Sothoth or whatever he was trying to summon. I forget about that. But there are professors that end up going to the old house, and the old house has all of the Whateleys. There's like Old Man Whateley and Lavinia Whateley, and it's really super, like, they're all inbreds. They're like backwater hillbillies, and they're just it's almost like Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of stuff going on. So it starts out, the farmhouse, we assume there's some sort of tornado, and the cows, you can look at the little illustrations of the characters or whatever. There's a person, I believe, and there's cows and other animals, and all of their heads have been taken off, and there's like this tornado typhoon thing going on, and it's actually, you figure out that the typhoon is chasing them. And since we know that it's the Dunwich Horror, we assume that it's some sort of creature that is chasing them, some sort of cosmic entity, a godlike creature, like Yog-Sothoth or Yog, or let's see if we can find some of the other creatures that are in here. We have the Bikey, but these are all not specific to the Dunwich Horror, even though pack of rat things. No, I can't. I don't think I have any more creatures in here. That's too bad. I might have to find some more. So anyway, the creature, God, whatever it is, spirit, is chasing these professors. They got in their car. They must have, by reading what they say later on, they came here, they found a book There was notes by Wilbur Whately in the book. I think it's not the Necronomicon. It's another book because they leave the Necronomicon at Miskatonic University, and so they go to the Whateleys. They do some sort of they're the ones to actually raise this demon or creature, or whatever, and by using the book and rituals and all of this stuff. So they are the ones that actually create the portal that lets the demon out, and it starts chasing them. And of course, the leader of the group thought he could control it. So it's a little bit of a cross between Evil Dead and the Dunwich Horror, because I don't think in the Dunwich Horror, I'm pretty sure the professors don't know. They're not trying to do it. I remember they're older professors, and they actually are there to kind of help, and they're not there to summon the creature, or whatever. Anybody want to help me with my my memory of the Dunwich Horror, and if you've read the Dunwich, let me know in any of the things that I might have gotten wrong in the comment section. But they're running in their car. They're driving away, trying to get away from the creature, when the creature just kind of stops, and they stop, and they just kind of are talking about what's going on. There is a lot of talking heads in this book. It is written by, it doesn't say, Lansdale, Barrington, Weinberger, and Menton. It doesn't have a, writer is Joe R. Lansdale. Artist is Peter Barrington, and letterer is Sean Lee. Sean Lee? So they're the ones that are doing it. And so the creature stops. There must be some sort of portal and it needs some energy to get through the portal, something like that. So then they realize that they've released this beast into the world, and that they need to figure out a way to get it back. So they are just kind of trying to figure that out. And one of them realizes that the only way that they're going to be able to put the creature back in its own dimension or whatever, they're going to have to use the Necronomicon, and the Necronomicon is back at the Miskatonic University. So through some hemming and hawing, they decide to go back to the university and try to figure this out. This is a modern day retelling, so there's computers and all of this kind of stuff. And they kind of just discuss what they're gonna do, and they talk about Wilbur Whately and his notes on the Necronomicon, and he does some fiddling stuff with his computer, and they realize that they can't get to the Necronomicon, but they can use another book, The Mysteries of the Worm, and the Book of Docs. I assume that this character, he is like a professor of demonology or something like that, because he seems to be the ringleader out of all of these guys, and I think these other professors are just maybe his girlfriend and or just some other ancillary characters that aren't really. He's the ringleader. He's explaining everything to everybody, so he's just kind of going along, and they're talking about the different books that Wilbur had notes on, and how the Whateleys had the books, but they didn't know what they had. So I guess the Whateleys are really truly secondary, third, fourth characters. I'm not even sure if in the first one they even show the Whateleys. I mean, they must, right? It's the Dunwich Horror is about the Whateleys, I guess, or the farmhouse and that kind of whole mystical, horrible experience, horror kind of stuff. So he says, we let it into the world, we have to put it back. And they kind of, this is where they discuss how they went to the Whateleys with their books, and that's why how they released a demon into the world. And one of them says, why did you do it? And the main guy, because they say, you knew what was going on, you knew what this was, why would you do that? And he refers to it as like, just like the mountain, it's there. So that's how a lot of people justify climbing mountains, is that it's there. So why not do it? So there's a mystical book with unleashing demons, and why not? Because it's there, which is the stupidest reason of all time. It goes to different websites, and it talks about the different books and stuff. And one of the translators of the books when they first got the book. Miskatonic University rather got the Necronomicon. There was a interpreter and just one of the people working at the school, and she was making copies of the Necronomicon, I guess. But even just making copies of the book, she saw all kinds of weird stuff in the world in the book, and she went crazy. And but she burned the original, but she actually did make copies of the book into a USB drive, so it's still there, and that's one of the things they're kind of just discussing. Like I said, there's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of talking heads and stuff like that, and I'll get into the art and the writing afterwards, as I usually do. She dies in the asylum, which is where all good H.P. Lovecraft characters die, is in asylums, or they get better and then they go back and they kill the creature or whatever they do. So they're just kind of also talking about the different iterations and the different books and the different things that are going on. And so then they reach the website, or not the website. They use the USB drive, I guess, that contains some of the book on it, and he opens it up just a little bit. Oh, here's what it is. She had the USB drive, but it was coded or encrypted or something. It had a password. Nobody figured out the password, so nobody knew it was in the book, and or in the USB drive rather. So they figure it's Lovecraft. They try Lovecraft as the password, and it is, because apparently in this world, Lovecraft was a researcher or something, and he discovered all of these different books and stuff like that. So he's not actually, he's in the book, in the comic, but not really truly in the comic. But so he hits enter and stuff starts to come on the screen, and what his girlfriend or one of the other professors just kind of gets sick. He says, I believe he says not to look. I suggest everyone look away. I'll transfer it to a save file. But she just gives it a little bit of glance, and she starts throwing up, and she sees all of this horribleness, and she just saw a glimpse of it, not even reading it or anything. And so as most of you know, in Lovecraftian world, all of these gods and creatures and stuff are so horrifying that to even glimpse them, you would lose your mind. You would just go crazy. You would lose your grasp of reality. And that's kind of what they're showing here, where it's just so horrible. She starts to throw up and stuff. And then, so he gets an idea of like the Gorgon in Medusa in Clash of the Titans. He thinks that if you look at the text through a mirror, maybe it might save you, and it might not make you go crazy or whatever, which kind of makes even more sense, because this is text. You're actually looking at text, and so all of the text would be flipped. So you would even not understand it. Even if you don't understand it, then flipped, you would definitely not understand, because it's in a different language and it's flipped. So, being in a mirror, that looking at it through a mirror totally makes sense. So he tries it, but he just like almost goes crazy. He starts to throw up just like her, and he's just like, ugh, it goes nuts. And he's saying that the mirror did save him from losing all of his sanity and just going crazy and stuff. But it didn't save him enough. It still overwhelmed him and stuff. He falls, he almost faints, and they have to pick him up and stuff. And that's where he talks about how the mirror saves him, but they're going to have to they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to try something, because they brought this demon into the world, and they're going to have to figure some way to get it out of the world. So that's how it is, to be continued. I don't know how many issues there are of this, but I definitely would get more. And then I think the Hound is just some paintings with some, I don't know what this is. It says adapted by Robert Weinrich and somebody. I don't know. I couldn't read it. Why have all of this text here if you can't even really read it? I mean, I'm an old dude. I need glasses. And then this cursive stuff. I mean, I can read cursive. I can read and write cursive. Obviously, I'm of the generation that could. And it's still, but it's shrunk down. It's comic books. It's flourish. It's it's not just regular cursive. It's done old styley, which really lends itself to atmosphere of the whole book and stuff. So that's cool. But if you can't actually read it, then that's no good. And these illustrations don't really help very much because they're so dark and shadowy that you can't tell. Church, maybe a gravekeeper, and maybe a cultist, and some sort of tower, a ship, and these guys talking. So it does nothing for me to do anything. So it's IDW. IDW was a prominent comic publisher. I don't know if they're still going on or not, but they do Doctor Who and Rocketeer, and they do all kinds of cool stuff. So it's always cool to see IDW stuff. So as far as the writing is pretty good. When I look at this and think of it as an H.P. Lovecraftian thing, I'm like, it's pretty good. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy reading it. The dialogue was really good, and they had a lot of common sense things. A lot of horror things don't have a lot of common sense, and they had a lot of common sense, and it flowed really naturally, and I really did enjoy that part. And I did enjoy the characters. I don't know who they are, don't know their names, don't know anything about them, but they talked naturally. They made a lot of sense and stuff. And when they made a foible, a mistake or whatever, they fessed up to it stuff. So that was really cool. And the plot, it goes along pretty good. I do wish that there was an introduction where it tells what happens in the first issue. I really terribly wish that was true. But they go back and they talk about the different things that happened, and I kept up with it. I didn't really have to reread anything. So as far as the writing was concerned, all of that was really legible and cohesive and not confusing at all. So I understood all of it. As far as the art, I'm really kind of torn by the art. It is a lot of talking heads, but you can make talking head scenes look interesting and cool and stuff. And them running away or driving away from the creature or whatever. Yes, I know that they want to make it a little bit dark and shadowy. You don't want to see too much. You don't want to give too much to the audience. Maybe in the next one you actually see the whole creature and it's like this oozing kind of pussy kind of creature. But I kind of don't think so. I kind of think that's just the artist's style, is that he's leaving a little bit more to your imagination. That's kind of how they do something is killing the children, the creatures. They don't look defined enough for me. I really wish that some of the newer modern artists would be a little bit more defined in some of their creatures creation and stuff. But I mean, the narrative art is really good. I never had to backtrack and look at anything else. Look at anything over and over again. So I understood everything that was going on, and all of the characters have their word balloons are connected to them, and it flows nicely along the page. The only real gripe that I have from the artist, because he does some good expressions and stuff, so everybody really is expressive when they're emoting and stuff. Even when they're expressionless, they're still got an expression. But one thing I do wish, I don't know how this is done, whether it's digitally. It kind of looks like it's done digitally, but it's supposed to look watercolored or something like that. I have no idea how it's done. If anybody knows anything about this book or the artist, let me know how you think it was done, whether it's done digitally. But I kind of feel like it was done digitally. Saying that, there's a lot of open space. There's a lot of negative space, and that is often a really good thing. But sometimes, like when they're out in the outside, that's fine. But being inside the classroom, or this is a library, so there could be books everywhere. There could be posters of whatever. But you've just got all of this negative space, and you've got the characters. I understand if this is not done digitally, that maybe you don't really have the time to fit in a lot of this stuff, because it is very painterly, and there's a lot of nice brush strokes. If it's digital, there's a lot of nice blending, and it really has a lot of nice techniques. It's got a lot of really good textures and stuff on the hands and on the books and on basically everything. So that the artist can make There's like this window scene, and you know that the artist can do all of this stuff. It's just a little bit too open in the background for me. If they had smaller panels, I would understand. I think that would make more sense. But there's 6 panels here, but um, it's almost like I said, there's a little bit too much negative space for my taste. There's backgrounds here, but it really is more just like a painterly way. Look at all this empty space. Look at all this empty space. I'm not. I mean, maybe that was done on purpose to kind of be a horror, have a horror look. I'm not entirely sure, but I kind of think it's just not done to the best of his ability. It's just so much space there. But I did enjoy this. I did like reading it, and I do love all Lovecraft stuff. Even the crappy movies that you watch that are Lovecraftian, I still enjoy those. So I did like it. Would I get another one? Yes, I would definitely 100% get number one, number three, or whatever, however many there are. And so obviously that starts at a base 7. Anybody that knows my reviews, if you're willing to go get another copy or a different copy, or continue reading it, then it's a 7. The art, I'm going to say the writing bumps it up a half, but the art for me just doesn't bump it up anymore. It really could have. And the cliffhanger at the end is not really a cliffhanger, so there's really not a lot of action in it. And a comic does not have to have action in order to be a great comic book. But if it doesn't have a lot of action, then there's got to be a lot of something else. Got to be a lot of drama, a lot of something else that keeps my interest peaked. I got to love the characters, and I did like the characters, but I didn't love them. I wasn't really that interested in them. So I'm going to give this a 7.5 because I'm bumping it up from the art and from the writing, and I did enjoy it. So I'm going to say 7.5. I can't give it an 8. This is too professional. IDW is too big of a company and too professional a book. If this was an indie comic creator and there's only 1 or 2 people doing it, I might have given it a higher rating, maybe an 8, an 8.5. But as it is, there's a whole bunch of editors sticking their fingers into it, and they have these fancy computers, and they could have done all kinds of cool stuff, but they just didn't do a lot of the stuff that I wish they had. So, like I said, it's a 7.5. So, thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. And even more than that, I really love to talk about comic books with you guys. So leaving a comment, do you love the Dunwich horror? Do you love H.P. Lovecraft? Do you love any kind of horror? Let me know. And thanks for watching. And we're going to have another show on tomorrow because this is an extra one because we filmed one yesterday, but I didn't really like how it came out. It was had Jack Kirby and George Perez. But stay tuned. We're going to be doing some other stuff, me and Joe, to hopefully make up for that. And then we'll have another show tomorrow to discuss something even cooler. Or maybe not even cooler than Jack Kirby, but still something cool. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow and then this weekend. And as always, keep on creating.